What do we have at the foundation of the reading, please? Ace of Pentacles, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn energy at the foundation of the reading. Right now, the collective is in a time of great preparation. We currently have a new moon, and this new moon is calling for you to really get your plans together and set your intentions around a specific manifestation that you are going to be calling into your life at some point in the coming months. However, in order to do this, a sacrifice needs to be made. And this sacrifice is going to be something that is essentially holding you back from stepping on to this new timeline and being embraced by your new reality where this manifestation is a part of your everyday waking life. Now, this is going to look different for every single one of you out there, but the types of things that I'm picking up that you're being called to release right now and sacrifice are behavioral patterns, mindsets, and of course, people. And there's something that I heard before this reading in regards to some of you being really hard on yourself for not seeing something clearly until recently. And there's this saying that the most difficult part of moving on from a person or even a behavioral pattern or mindset doesn't have anything to do with said person or mindset, but the illusion that you held on to around that, right? Coming to terms with the fact that you accepted or held on to a lie, an illusion. Why didn't I see it sooner, right? You also have to understand that you merely having that mindset now, right, where you look back from this perspective, shows you just how much you have grown. The fact you are able to even have this particular vantage point over what it is you may be trying to release is a monumental accomplishment, because this tells us that you have woken up. You have accepted a truth. You have woken up to the matrix of your own life. And what a perfect example, though a very basic one, around what the matrix may be. You know, we always hear this term. I use it all the time. And a lot of people don't really understand. But I think that that example that I just gave all of you should allow you to understand what that term means. It just means anything that you accepted that was actually a lie, right? An illusion. Anything that kept you from being the greatest version of yourself and held you back. That is the matrix of your life. And make no mistake, every single one of us has one. And even after you go through the point of awakening and you start to see the truth, there's going to be another level that you have to awaken to. As life goes on, we just awaken a little more and we accept a little more truth. And that's what our soul's mission is, to constantly be in the process of awakening. Because when you think about how our universe is constantly expanding and how we are directly connected to the universe, we are incremental pieces of the universe, then you can see how it never truly ends. Now, this Ace of Pentacles is representing this blessing. This is a gift from the divine. It's all a part of your path. It's all a part of your purpose. This new moon being in Scorpio, I think by the time this reading comes out, it would have shifted into Sag. But Scorpio is all about transformation. Now's the time to ask yourself, what are you really ready to let go of for good? And release it with gratitude to make way for the new. See, we often forget that there's a limitation to how much we can hold energetically before we just start to overload. You know, when I speak about meditation, I often use the analogy of taking out the trash, so to speak. All of that mental traffic, the mental garbage that we pick up in our everyday waking lives. Meditation is something that you can do anywhere, in any given moment, at any time. It is your spiritual medicine and is to be used when you are feeling disconnected, when you are feeling confused, when you don't know which way to move. Everything you need, every cure to what you may be feeling, spiritually speaking, can be found within self. All you have to do is take a moment to access that space. And typically, it's after these moments of meditation that the answers begin to come to you, whether it's immediately afterwards or whether it's in the days ahead. But going back to this Ace of Pentacles, we are seeing very clearly here that whatever it is you are trying to manifest into your life at current is going to allow you to make some sort of positive impact on your own custom-made particular path. The Ace of Pentacles is also an energy that tells us that because of all of your hard work, the divine is arming you with the tools you need to function inside of your purpose, inside of your mission, because you have made the necessary sacrifices to align with your North Node and step onto your path. What do we have at the sacral, please? Perfect. Hierophant, Taurus energy at the sacral. So right here, we see the divine, God. And right behind God right here, behind God's throne, we have these two individuals. And it looks like they're doing some sort of ritual, right? This is the divine arranging things for you behind the scenes, working in tandem with you to bring forward this new timeline where this manifestation can be found. Now, I just heard as above, so below. So when you set that intention, when you start sacrificing the things from your life, like we mentioned, then it gets the wheels turning as above at divine headquarters, so to speak. The universe starts working in your favor to arrange things for you behind the scenes. But there's a very particular process to this, to do it correctly. You can't be lukewarm about this, and you have to move in a very methodical fashion. Okay. A lot of the times when I hear people complaining because a manifestation didn't come through, it can almost always be reduced down to the fact that they weren't willing to make the necessary sacrifices in order to pull this manifestation through. They wanted to take a little bit of that old energy with them, and there's simply not enough space for that old energy and that new energy to coexist. A really good example, somebody who has just left a really toxic relationship, but they're not fully healed from it yet. Maybe they're still holding on to the trauma. So this person moves forward and they decide they want to bring a new relationship into their life, but because they're holding on to that old trauma, they begin to punish that new person for what the old person did to them, right? Now spoiling that new relationship because they had not healed. And this is why we always hear, take some time to heal before you put yourself back out there. Just love on yourself, focus on yourself. And this is very difficult for some people, especially if you're always used to being in a relationship. But the problem with this is you just constantly perpetuate the healing and you wind up in the same relationship over and over again, wondering what you did wrong when you haven't really done anything wrong, but you just didn't address what needed to be healed. There's this festering wound, spiritually speaking, that is stuck right on top of your auric field. And it's challenging because you can't see that. So taking this all the way back to what all of you are trying to manifest into your life right now, hold on to that example that I gave you, okay? Because that's going to help a lot of you to really understand what it calls for to bring forward this manifestation. There's also this message here to really take the time to address what you've been hiding, denied, or feared within self. Accepting these aspects and facing them is going to give you more to work with moving forward. And you don't have to heal everything because that's a futile effort, okay? We're never fully healed. The key here is just to understand that there's healing that needs to be done there and do as much as you can. And then as time goes on, you find that you're healed even more. Spiritual healing, trauma, this is something that can take years depending on what you've been through. Okay, the key is just to get on path and really face fears right now. Another download that I received, and I actually wrote this one down because I thought it was really interesting and I didn't want to forget it. But the download was, your fear will create vast realities, even universes, to do everything it can to hide from you and to stop you, right? So this can be seen as all of us making up excuses for our fears, why we can't do something, right? All it is us holding ourselves back based on traumas that we've been through on our path, right? Traumas that were quite possibly projected on us by our surroundings. So when you start to think about it in terms of trauma that's been projected onto you, now we can start to see that we are allowing whoever did that to us on our path to hold us back in the here and now, giving them a win. Okay, so again, just another example of why it's important to always face your fears. The devil is the author of fears, confusion, and lies. You need to remember that Because if you constantly have that on the front of your mind, right, then you'll always be wanting to come face to face with those fears because you don't want that devil energy in your life. And then right on the bottom of the deck, I have the Seven of Cups. So this really reinforces what I said about the illusion, the lies, the confusion, right? And then Six of Swords, here you are moving on from this energy. So for a lot of you, this is what you need to face to be able to step into this new timeline, your fears, the limiting mindsets, the things that you tell yourself to hold yourself back. Take off the rose-colored glasses and start looking at things without the filter that our reality creates without us even realizing it. Transform your fear into fuel, right? Use what scares you as a tool for growth and power. What do we have at the solar plexus, please? Oh, perfect. The Hermit, Virgo energy. Okay, so I just heard somebody say, is this a Scorpio reading? No, this is a collective reading, but it's a reading for the new moon that is in Scorpio, okay? So what I'm channeling through here are scorpionic and plutonic energies, Pluto being Scorpio's ruling planet. This is the energy that you're being called to harness right now. And just to remind those of you who don't know, we all have every archetype. We all have the 12 zodiacs somewhere in our chart. And when you can really start to understand this, then you can harness those energies. They're like your secret weapons. Just because you were born under one zodiac sign doesn't mean that you don't have the energies of the others. You were just born at that point. But we all have to move through the other 12 zodiacs year after year. So we have access to those energies as well, okay? And this Hermit actually follows what I'm saying here, Virgo energy, because the Hermit is all about going on a quest for your personal truth, understanding how you tick. This is an energy of getting your divine blueprint downloaded to you. Think about that. If you knew that there was actually a blueprint out there for you, wouldn't you want to know exactly how you were wired together? Exactly how you tick? You can start by really analyzing your astrological charts. And then that typically has a way of opening up this kind of portal that just starts to feed through information to you as time goes on. Because there's a vastness to all of that as well. You start to want to know a little bit more about where you came from. You start to dig back in your family lineage. You start to analyze behavioral patterns of other individuals in your family. This will typically lead you down a path of wanting to understand how generational karma works. And that's another vast ocean of information. But now's the time for this, especially with this pairing of this Hierophant and the Hermit. The Hierophant is really encouraging you to seek out higher knowledge. And the Hermit reminds you to look inward for those answers. You see, going inward is how you access the divine, through your intuition. That intuition is like a information highway. And this goes back to what I said about taking out all that noise and distraction that accumulates inside your mind, right? That's that information highway between you and the divine. So when you start to clear out all that noise that you pick up inside your everyday waking life, you feel more connected. You feel closer to source, closer to spirit, closer to the divine, closer to God, whoever you see as your supreme being. These are all just different ways of speaking about a force that helps us navigate our everyday waking life. And this Hermit is coming out at the solar plexus. Your solar plexus all has to do with your confidence. With this Hermit here, you are beginning to light your way. And you're using the divine to do so. You've empowered yourself with God's source energy and divine light as a means to navigate your path forward. Let's switch decks. What do we have at the heart, please? Oh, perfect. Wow. Wheel of Fortune, Sag energy at the heart. I don't think I could have asked for a better card to come out than the Wheel of Fortune at this heart position, because the Wheel of Fortune represents a turning point. It represents life cycles. It represents your destiny. It's also the energy of awakening, right? So here we can see that we've channeled through a very detailed blueprint on what is required of you at this time. We begin to see the wheel turning. This wheel of fortune is what unlocks the door to you being able to access this Ace of Pentacles. And it's coming out at the heart chakra. Further emphasis on releasing things. But I keep hearing preparing for release, which makes sense because you want to release during the full moon. The new moon is for setting the intention around the manifestation. It's basically you putting the target on what you want. You're aligning your energy with your goals and you're focusing on what it is you want to achieve. It's like you're figuring out the strategy on how to get there. And I'm hearing something about forgiveness, which makes perfect sense because here we are at the heart chakra. You have to understand that when it comes to forgiveness, it's not about them. It's about freeing yourself. You have to release the resentment in order to reclaim your power. See, holding on to resentment, trust issues, those unhealed parts of yourself are what lead to a heart chakra blockage. A lot of people hear heart chakra blockage and they immediately think that it means that they don't have the capacity to love. And that's not at all what it means. It just means that you're holding on to baggage from the past that is not going to serve you on your path moving forward. Like I mentioned when I gave that example surrounding an individual who monkey branches from one relationship to the next without healing themselves first. They're carrying that resentment of that previous relationship, and now they're just kind of spreading it, almost like a disease, to that new person. But it's spiritual in nature. I just heard somebody out there say very loudly that they will never forgive the person that hurt them, okay? And look, I completely get it, all right? But again, to reiterate, it's not about them, it's about you. Okay? By not doing this, by not forgiving, it's like you're being your own worst enemy. It's like you've got your inner child in a chokehold, right? Which leads me to something that I mentioned in the Gemini and Sag reading. I was talking about how I wrote a letter to my inner child and how powerful it was. It healed parts of myself that I forgot were even wounded. And to revisit what I said in those readings, I mentioned that it's like thinking about maybe 5-year-old you, maybe 8-year-old you, and the difficulties you may have gone through at that time in your life, and writing a letter to that version of yourself as this adult version of yourself, and basically expressing that you are now ready to be there for that younger version of yourself, because you now understand that nobody else was able to be there for you. This is really powerful because what this does is have an almost immediate influence on the you in the here and now. It's like you go back in time, so to speak, through a letter that you write yourself. You heal that version of yourself, or just give that version of yourself a hug, right? And understand that, there's going to probably have to be some work that you have to do there, but just getting in that space. And it has this impact on the you in the here and now. And this one very powerful thing can actually make or break you stepping in to this new timeline where this manifestation exists, because it could be that act, right, of writing that letter to your inner child gives you the needed confidence and encouragement to pull it off. It's a kind of holistic approach to bringing forward said manifestation. It's like going back to the root of things and doing some repair work there because of how it's going to allow you to show up in the here and now. And although I just personally did the letter to my inner child a few weeks back, this is always a part of myself that I've been engaged with healing. And I can tell you firsthand that it's going to give you some of the biggest growth at present day that I think you can get from any other act, right? But it makes perfect sense. It's like going back to that version of yourself at the point of impact when whatever trauma affected you, the trauma that nobody was there to help you with, the trauma that you didn't even understand, you couldn't even compartmentalize it, that trauma that made you feel like you did something wrong or there was something wrong with you, a trauma that you didn't deserve. There's a number of you out there that were raised in some pretty difficult environments. The authority that was around you was not capable of trying to help you deal with these particular things that impacted you. And for some of you, this could have to do with this forgiveness that I'm picking up as well. What do we have at the throat, please? 8 of Pentacles, Virgo energy at the throat. Perfect. Because this is really speaking about repair work, Okay. So, what I'm seeing here is a direct correlation between this healing that we're clearly picking up here and something that you're going to be doing in relation to your path, your purpose, whatever it is you're being tasked with right now. It's going to be different for all of you. Just a little side note, sometimes it's not your purpose you're getting ready to step into, sometimes it's the next step before the next step, before the next step that leads you to your purpose. Okay. So again, it's going to be completely different for each and every one of you. But the most important way to approach all of this is with a knowing that you are heading in the direction that you need to be heading, that you're moving closer and closer to said purpose, mission, path. And it's all relevant. We wander off our intended path. We go so far into this kind of metaphorical forest unknowingly. We don't even really realize that the everyday grind of life has just led us astray. But then when spirit comes into our life and starts to illuminate the truth to us, we say, oh my God, I've been wandering away from my path for decades. I didn't even know. So then you go through that point of awakening. You have a course readjustment and you start making your way towards your path. But depending on who you are and what you have been going through, that may take some time, right? It's like the divine has to lead you back to your path. Now, though we can have a visual representation of that in our minds, the way that shows up in our everyday waking life is very different. It could be that we are living a life completely out of alignment with our true north. We're surrounded by toxic individuals that are very limited in their thinking. So there's all these different things that are going to show up for each one of us that we have to begin to sift through, rearrange, resort, remove, so we can begin making our way back to our path. And that is exactly what I'm getting with this Eight of Pentacles right here at this throat. You are now engaging with whatever work necessary as a means to get back into alignment. Let's switch decks. What do we have at the third eye, please? Wow. Nine of Wands, Sag energy at the third eye. And what a card to follow everything I just said. Pretty much like every other card that I've had here. Okay, but this just really confirms to us that we're really tapped right into the energy, because the Nine of Wands is an energy of creating boundaries, right? Creating boundaries, a perimeter with all of those energies that are limited, right? That are holding you back merely by being in your energetic environment. There's an influence here that I'm picking up from a lot of you that needs to be dealt with. And the divine is really testing your faith right now. And that's what a lot of this is. It's a test of faith. Do you have enough trust that if you release said toxic thing from your life, that you will elevate, that something will come through and fill that space that is in actual alignment with your true north and path and your higher self? Are you going to keep persisting forward despite any of the setbacks that you may face on your path, because your faith is so strong it's unbreakable, and you know that eventually you will reach said destination? The only difference in how long it takes to get to said destination is, again, how far you've wandered off your path, or how willing you are to accept the truths. Typically speaking, the greatest struggles in your life have a direct connection to why you're even here. Otherwise, what's the point of even going through those difficulties and struggles to begin with? Those difficulties, those struggles have been planned from the beginning. And although the opposing force is responsible for a lot of those difficulties and struggles, it's like you're off path, you're heading in the opposite direction of your true north. It's up to you to break the cycle, because those opposing energies, they're just doing what they've always known. You can't really blame them for, again, their limited way of thinking. I've been trying to replace calling the opposing force evil with just being limited, right? Because it's true, they are limited. They can't see the wider scope. They don't have the faith that you have to be able to let go and know that things are going to work out in your favor the way they're supposed to. In these moments, we're asked to look beyond the physical realm of our reality. Think about ourselves as a soul that lives on no matter what. It's through this perspective shift that you can harness a lot of courage and strength on your path. It really suggests that you now move with a sense of zero fear. And to be completely honest with you, I think being called limited is a whole lot worse than just being called flat out evil. This Knight of Wands is great because we can see you here, right? You're kind of beat up, you've been through the ringer. And then we have this individual here, which to me is a representative of the divine. And he's looking up. It's like you guys are waiting for the divine mother ship. You're going to the new timeline and see how he's all bloodied up on his shirt there. It's like he's been down there helping you disengage from the karmic cycle or whatever it is, right? But this is all spiritual in nature. And see how you're kind of unsure? You're like, I don't know. You're kind of paranoid. You're looking to the left and the right. What do we have of the crown, Spirit? Wow. The world. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius energy at the crown in reverse. I feel that this world is really reinforcing everything we're saying here about the work that is necessary to be able to access this new timeline, this Ace of Pentacles energy, to get this Wheel of Fortune to begin turning. You see, it goes back to what I said about individuals that try to take some of the old energy and mix it with the new energy, right? And they end up sabotaging their new beginning. Sadly, a lot of people do this, right? They give up when they're halfway there. And the thing is, the longer the divine makes you wait for something, only has to do with the length of time that they feel you need to actually heal and gather the amount of faith necessary to be able to step into this new timeline. So once you start to understand how manifestation works, in that the way you move inside your everyday waking life is exactly what the universe will amplify back into your life, you begin to manifest at a higher rate. Again, I'll use myself as an example. In the past, before I understood this, I couldn't get things to show up in my life. I didn't understand how manifestation really worked. But then I went through my own awakening, and the manifestation abilities that I have now are practically in the blink of an eye. Typically, no more than a few days. I can start to think about something. I can rationalize it. I can apply it as something that is going to help me on my path, functioning inside of my purpose. And then boom, it's like the divine says, okay, perfect. We'll get that to you right away. This is very, very real, okay? And there's a lot of you out there that know exactly what I'm talking about. Manifestation 101, all right? So for the individuals out there that like to leave comments underneath some of the videos saying that they've given up on God, they've given up on source because your manifestations aren't showing up and blah, blah, blah. This is the reason why. It's because you haven't sacrificed what is necessary to pull forward that manifestation. 100% of the time, this is always going to be the case, all right? So while you're sitting there complaining why a manifestation's not showing up, you're just pushing it further and further away from yourself. Release and sacrifice ruthlessly until your manifestation shows up. And that's what this world is representing to me at this crown position. The crown all has to do with your faith, this kind of universal understanding that you have. But when we consider what I just said, it can be an energy of having a weak faith or just not wanting to put in the necessary work to pull forward the manifestation. And this is difficult because we can't see what it is we're actually working with here. It's spiritual in nature. But the one thing that you can implement to help you deal with this is meditation, especially when you are at the beginning of the journey. Okay, or you're going through a particular awakening. It's the only thing that's going to give you a higher understanding of what you're dealing with. And it's the only thing that is going to allow you to clear out that channel and connect with source, which is going to help strengthen your faith, which will have a direct influence on said manifestation. What do we have at the foundation, please? Four of Swords, Libra energy, at the foundation of the reading. And this is further reiterating the message about not putting in the necessary work to pull through the manifestation. Because this Four of Swords is speaking about anxiety. It's an energy of burnout. It's an energy that's lacking progress, or things are just moving kind of slow. I'm getting some messages here surrounding individuals that keep re-engaging in the same cycle, the same behavioral pattern, the same relationship, the same mindset, something like this. It's going to be different for all of you. It's like a cyclical cycle, and you just keep going around and around, expecting something to change, but it never does. And the reason for this is because there's something that you are missing. There's something that is hiding from you. Well, actually, it's not. It's typically going to be right underneath your nose, but the way your mind is engaging with said thing, it's almost as if it's not there. Okay, I'm hearing something about fasting as well. Not only is fasting excellent for your overall well-being and health, but sometimes we forget the things that we're actually putting in our body on a daily basis because we form these habits around things. It could be something so small that is having such a huge impact in your life. So in saying all that, you need to take out your magnifying glass and scan your day from beginning to end. Scan your relationships. Scan where you put your energy. Scan who you blend your energy with. What do we have? The sacral, please. Wow. Okay. We taking both of these? All right. They want me to take both of them. Okay. They want that one there and this one here. Hierophant stacked with Hierophant. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 decks of cards on the table, and we've gotten the Hierophant stacked with the Hierophant at the sacral position. However, this Hierophant is like Hierophant in reverse. I read it in its negative polarity because this represents the principalities right here. These are demons, okay? The limited, so to speak. But this Hierophant is an energy of restriction. And this is so very interesting because it's almost like you're at war with yourself. You know what needs to be done, but then there's this energy that is trying to stop you from doing it or trying to convince you that it won't make a difference, that it doesn't matter. And we can obviously see how this can be very relevant to somebody who is stuck in a toxic relationship or engages with some sort of toxic behavioral pattern or even addiction, and they make up excuses for it, right? And I'm sure that there's not a single person listening to this that hasn't done this at some point in their life. But it's significant enough here to where it's coming up in a manner that we are actually seeing that in order to have this breakthrough, this thing, this person, this mindset, whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's going to all really fall under the umbrella of a principality. It's a kind of spirit that shows up in those things. But whatever the case, it needs to go, okay? Once and for all. The divine really needs you to take a step forward, even if you can't see what's next, all right? If you can't see what's next, it's because the divine doesn't want you to see what's next, because it's all a part of your path. It's all a part of lessons that you need to learn individually. Sometimes we're just not meant to know the details for everything. But one thing I can tell you for a lot of you here that are watching this, I feel this is really going to resonate with a bunch of you out there. You're going to attract the parts of yourself that are unhealed. Or if you have just recently healed from certain things, you may still attract these energies into your life as a kind of strength test. Now, I'm not going to explain too much around that because that can be placed in many different ways in all of your lives. So I'm just going to leave you with that, okay? But what I'm getting here is an energy of the shadow parts of yourself that are still unhealed being in direct opposition with this newfound sense of self that is just trying to move forward, okay? So this takes us all the way back to the letter, right? The letter that I mentioned you could write to your inner child. I feel that this could really help a lot with this, all right? Because those unhealed parts of our inner child develop into this, right? I mean, think about it. Somebody who goes through a lot of trauma when they're a child, they grow up and maybe they're addicted to something, or maybe they always attract toxic relationships into their life because it was something that they picked up in their childhood. And now it's just on repeat throughout their entire life because those parts of themselves need to be healed. And they haven't figured out yet that they're just attracting all of those parts of themselves that need to be healed. It's basically the universe saying to you, hey, are you going to heal this or what? And then we have this Ace of Swords, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius energy at the solar plexus underneath this Hermit. So you're finding mental strength. You're finding this kind of raw power by way of this newfound connection or this new improved connection with spirit, with source, by going inward, right? There's an emphasis on your mind here, your mental strength. Okay, I just heard, the emphasis is on the mind because of the mindset shift. that you're being encouraged to implement right now. And you know, this is not easy, okay? But what I can tell you is the more difficult it feels, the more you feel like giving up, the more it's working. You get so anxious and you just feel so uncomfortable. This is what this feels like. Don't allow these people to sell you this dream that this process is lined with pink, fluffy clouds. Because what I can tell you, those are not individuals who have gone through this. Okay? You all know that the greatest things in life, the greatest achievements, the most monumental shifts come with hard work. What do we have at the heart, please? King of Cups, Scorpio energy at the heart. Pride. The King of Cups from this deck, again, I read it in its negative polarity. This is a very moody, very volatile kind of energy. And I feel that this is really representing that shadow side of yourself that is trying to make this more difficult than it needs to be, right? A lot of you right now are really facing that little devil on your shoulder. It's whispering in your ears saying, what's the point of all that work? Don't do that. Just stay here. Aren't you comfortable here? Awakening, aligning with your true north. That's silly. Stay here with me. It's so comfortable. Aren't we happy here? And this King of Cups speaks about everything I just mentioned, about the imbalance that you feel when you're going through this process. But again, to reiterate, that's when you know it's working. You have to keep pushing. That's really a sign that you're getting closer and closer to the breakthrough. Can't tell you how many people reach out to me and they say they've been going through an awakening in their life in some capacity, and they're really explaining what I'm explaining here, and they don't understand. And I try to tell them, no, keep going. You're going in the right direction. Just keep pushing forward. And every now and then, some months will go by and I'll hear back from these people and they said, you're right. I made it. I got to the other side. I can't believe it. And you know, especially if you're listening to this reading right now, this is the message you needed to hear. Push harder. Do more. Don't give up. You're on the middle of the transformation. This is what this new moon has brought into your life, specifically this one, because of the transformative influence of Scorpio and Pluto. And then boom, what do we get? Judgment, Pluto, Scorpio energy. Atonement of errors, right there at the heart. So now we're seeing this energy of this awakening actually being solidified. It's like you're being rebirthed onto this new timeline as this newfound version of self. And the Judgment card is also an energy that is speaking about you aligning with your purpose, or again, like I mentioned, one step closer to it, right? But for a lot of you here, like I've been picking up, some decisions need to be made. And some of these decisions, they need to be final. Okay. If you can get into alignment with the astrological shifts of the time, right? So it's basically like you're in tandem with how the energies of the planets, the moon cycles are shifting, you will see unbelievable transformations take place in your life. There's a kind of magic that we all have access to at all times. And it all has to do with the planets, the moon cycles. Once you start to figure this out, you will start to see why all of these things have been a part of every single ancient civilization going back to the beginning of time. Because they understood something that is mostly being hidden from us in this capacity. There's a kind of mechanics, they're kind of gears. And when you start to figure out which way they're turning and what energies come through and influence your life when these different gears are turning, oh, you can begin to have a lot of fun with this. You will see transformations unfold in your life that go beyond your wildest dreams. What do we have at the throat, please? Ace of Pentacles again at the throat. And then I also got the Seven of Swords. Okay, so when my readings go back to the card that I began with, right here, it's another confirmation that we're tapped directly into source, okay? Because right here we have the principalities, the negative polarities, the demons, so to speak, right? Right here, these are the positive polarities, the angels. And then right here, we have a demon and an angel. This is a bridging energy. It bridges from the resistance to the support. But when we start the supporting energy, again, with the first card I began the reading with, it's very powerful because it says that we've gone through this entire cycle and now we've ended up right at the beginning, but we're actually accessing that energy now. Kehathel, the adored god, divine blessings, drives away evil spirits, rules agricultural production. Okay, so Eye of God right there. And now you have, I just heard passed the test. Okay, this comes right after the judgment card. So it's like the judgment is saying, okay, yes, my child, you've passed with flying colors. You actually did pretty good. We thought you were going to go back into that toxic cycle again, but you actually made it out this time. And now you're being blessed with this Ace of Pentacles, and it's right underneath this Eight of Pentacles right here. So it's like here you are on the new timeline engaging in this space, right? Whatever this represents. I mean, he has a little hammer there, right? Looks like he's at work on something. This could represent whatever it is you're trying to manifest. The divine is blessing you with this. And you're being gifted with this because this is going to allow you to make a real world impact on your path, whatever that is. The divine saying to you, hey, yeah, we're totally down if you want to work in that space. We can actually provide you with what you need because it's in perfect alignment with your path, your true north. And you've done all the necessary sacrificing, so you won't be at jeopardy of losing this from any sort of toxic influence you may have around you, or maybe you've given up certain things in your life, so you're not at risk at self-sabotaging yourself, right? And then we have the Seven of Swords right here, knowledge of good and evil, okay? So Aquarius energy with this Seven of Swords, and this Seven of Swords is an energy of breaking free, and it's right underneath this Nine of Wands, which is that energy of you creating that boundary and that perimeter, right? It's like you're elevating to the new timeline there, breaking free. And then right on the bottom of the deck, I have the Two of Swords, and it says right there, breaking the circle, right? So it reinforces what I said here. You're moving on from that toxic cycle or whatever it is. Lifts opposing barriers, brings victory. All right, Spirit, let's close out the reading. What do we have at the crown, please? Hangman, Pisces energy, Nishael at the crown to close out the reading. The only God. Desire for knowledge, protects from liars, evil spells, and bad spirits. Okay, so the Hangman is now speaking about this perspective shift. This is you basically looking at things from this higher vantage point, not looking at things from this limited perspective, like the energies that a lot of you may be dealing with. You've nurtured this connection with Source, your higher self, the divine, and now it's giving you more tools to work with. You see things differently. I always talk about removing yourself from your current set of circumstances and putting yourself in the position of the universe or God, right? And looking down over your life, say through the eyes of the universe, and asking yourself, what would the universe want me to do right now? What would God tell me to do right now? I highly encourage you to take on this practice. The act of doing this in and of itself allows the divine to come through because they understand that your intention is to actually see things from this higher perspective. So it's like they give you a boost up. They give you the sight to see. And when you're able to do this, it makes letting go of all which does not serve your highest good a cakewalk. It becomes effortless. So I certainly hope that I have been able to provide all of you with some messages to help you bring forward this manifestation. This is the message I have for all of you, depending on where you are on this timeline, should you choose to accept. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you would like a personal reading, you can find all of my contact details in the description below this video. And thank you for your donations. Take care.